So now we press OK. And then we zoom out to see the result. Okay, so we have a caster installed in the back of the robot car. Now we want to handle the motors. Okay, so let's first put in this configuration and then zoom in this area. We want to bring in the T bracket. T bracket is here, open. We want to zoom out and then move this T bracket closer to the location where we want to put it. So we want to constrain using the placement. First constraint, we want to constrain this face of the T bracket to match with this face of the chassis. Okay, and make that coincident, and then zoom out. That's the first constraint. The second constraint, we want to add a new constraint, and then we select this face of the T bracket, and then we zoom out, and then we select this face of the chassis. Okay, coincident. Okay, that's the second constraint. The third constraint, we want to constrain that in this direction. Okay, the third direction, the three perpendicular direction. So we add a new constraint. We want to select this face of the T bracket to be coincident with that face of the chassis, this face. Okay, and so computer tell us it's a 40 constraint. So if we zoom out, we can see that it's placed in the correct location. Okay, and then we want to do the next piece. So let's bring in the T bracket again. So go to Assemble, and pick T bracket, open. We want to move this piece closer to the location, and we want to set 3 more constraints. Okay, so go to placement. First constraint, we want to constrain in this direction. Okay, so let's rotate. We want to constrain this face of the T bracket with this face of the chassis. Okay, first constraint. Add a new constraint. We constrain in this direction, forward and backward direction. Okay, so let's select this face of the T-bracket to be constrained with this face of the chassis, coincident. Coincident means the distance is equal to 0. We need to add the third constraint. The third constraint is in this direction. So add a new constraint. We want to constrain somehow. Okay, so let's go back to the T-bracket, edit definition, go to the placement, and I think the first constraint is supposed to be coincident. Okay, and the third constraint is up and down. Okay, so go to the new constraint. We add the constraint in the up and down direction. We want to select this face of the T-bracket to be coincident with that face of the chassis. Coincident. Okay, so it's 40 constraint. Okay, so now we have two pieces of the T-bracket put together. We can now put the motor there, assemble the motor. Okay, so go to assemble and pick the gear motor. Open. We want to first move this motor to the location we want, and let me check. The long side should face out. The long side of the shaft should face outside. So we need to rotate 180 degree. So let's rotate this motor 180 degree, and then we'll do the placement. So we want to constrain that using the axis. Okay, let's go to placement, select component item. We select this axis of the hole to be constrained with the axis of the T-bracket. This axis, let me rotate so we can see the axis, this axis. Make that coincident. Okay. The next constraint, we need to add a new constraint. We want to constrain